What's going on in this house? Hi everyone, welcome to this house. Today we are exploring the Lizzie Borden House in Fall River. Make sure to hit that subscribe button so you never miss an exciting episode. In 1892, Andrew and Abby Borden were brutally murdered inside this house. Their murders shocked the nation and remains one of America's most infamous unsolved mysteries. The victims, Andrew and Abby Borden, were an elderly brother and sister who lived in a large Italianate-style house at 92 2nd Street in Fall River, Mass. Their home was just 2 blocks from the waterfront and was surrounded by other well-to-do families. As the story goes, their daughter Lizzie Borden came home from a shopping trip. She opened the front door and let their 2 hired servants in. They had worked for the family for many years, and both seemed happy with their jobs. It was after they left that the murders would take place. After the servants left, Lizzie went into the sitting room where her father was reading. An argument ensued between the two of them. When she exited the room, she grabbed a hatchet and struck her father several times. He did not survive his injuries. She then went in search of her mother, but she couldn't find her, so she decided to take a nap. When she awoke, she went to the kitchen and retrieved some bread and milk. Then she went upstairs to wash the bloody hatchet. When Lizzie returned to the sitting room, she found her father still lying there, and seeing that he was still breathing, she got a rug and attempted to smother him. She then went downstairs and used a rug to clean up the mess. When she could no longer hear her father breathing, she went back to the sitting room to make sure he was dead. She then covered him with a blanket and put out the fire in the hearth. At this time, Lizzie knew her mother was visiting a friend down the street, so Lizzie decided to take a walk herself. As she strolled past her mother's friend's house, she saw a constable walking toward her. He informed her that her mother had passed away suddenly at her friend's house. Lizzie thanked the officer for informing her and continued on her way. When she got home, she learned that her mother had been using the spare bedroom to store morphine and other medicine. After laying out her mother's clothes for the funeral, she burned the prescription bottles and threw them in the privy. The next day, when the undertaker came to pick up her mother's body, he noticed bruises on her person and informed the family that she could not have possibly died from natural causes. With the facts now pointing toward murder, people began to question Lizzie. At first, she said she had nothing to do with the deaths, but quickly changed her tune and said that she believed their own servants had committed the crime. The police followed up on her claims and even arrested the woman, but quickly released her when it became obvious she was innocent. The entire town was convinced that Lizzie had murdered her parents, but she was never charged. For more than 30 years, the Borden house remained empty until it was turned into a bed and breakfast. But that didn't last long because guests refused to stay in such a haunted house. It is said that strange things happen in the house, including unexplained footsteps, doors opening and closing on their own, and objects moving on their own. One guest even reported seeing the ghost of Lizzie standing at the foot of their bed at night. Other guests said they heard chains dragging metal moans in the middle of the night. In 1905, a local physician conducted an investigation of the house and claimed that Andrew Borden had actually been killed with a spiked instrument like a mace or a club, not an axe. This changed everything and raised the possibility that there was more than one killer. Perhaps the weapon that killed Andrew was destroyed and the killer or killers fled before the arrival of Lizzie. Today, the house is open to the public for tours and overnight stays. The guest rooms are themed to the era in which the murders occurred, and the B&B prides itself on giving visitors the opportunity to experience a night in a haunted house. Some guests say they've even captured images of ghosts while staying here. Now, this brings us to the question of the day. What do you think happened in the Borden house? Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments section. As we continue our exploration of the outside of the house, you will notice a small shed to the left of the garage. This small structure is known locally as the privy. This is where Lizzie disposed of the murder weapons and her mother's morphine bottles after the murders. It is also said to be haunted by one of the Borden's servants, Emma Borden, who worked for the family as a cook and was very close to the Borden sisters. We then move across the street to Oak Grove Cemetery, where both Andrew and Abby Borden were laid to rest. Andrew was buried in a family plot near the front of the cemetery. His headstone reads, "In loving memory of Andrew Jackson Borden, born April 2nd, 1829, died August 1893. Also Abby, sister, born March 22nd, 1835, died August 4th, 1893. Unlike her father, Abby's headstone does not mention how she died. In fact, on the day of her burial, the newspaper only mentioned that she had died of heart disease. Her secret died with her. Some believe that Lizzie Borden was guilty of murdering both her parents. Why, you ask? Well, because she stood to inherit a large sum of money. Others claim she had a troubled childhood marked by bouts of depression, seizures, and possible sexual abuse at the hands of her father. This may have caused her to snap. There is evidence that points to the servants committing the crime or perhaps another family member. We may never know for sure. In 1930, a grand jury voted to indict Lizzie, but the case had already made its way through the courts twice, and the state had already spent more than $100,000 on prosecuting her. This is the equivalent of roughly $1.6 million today. Therefore, the decision was made not to indict her. By this time, she was nearly 70 years old, and any trial would have dragged on for months. It was decided that it wasn't worth the time and money. As for Lizzie herself, she lived to be 81. She donated a portion of her inheritance to charity over the years, and aside from her own personal use, much of her wealth was tied up in real estate. After her death, the house was sold to a trust. Upon the death of every family member, the home was willed to go to the next living relative. That way, it would never have to be sold. In 1979, the last surviving relative agreed to sell the home. A group of investors purchased it, restored it, and opened it to the public as a house museum. If you ever visit the area, I highly recommend checking it out. To get to the house, you can take a guided tour or join a ghost hunt. The house has also appeared on Ghost Adventures and Destination America's A Haunting. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you never miss an exciting episode. And don't forget to share this with a friend.